the many optional accessories that is available for the Baby Lock Vibrant is the beading foot. And we're going to use two applications with this presser foot attaching beads. The first application is actually attaching it to the edge of the fabric. You can see here's my folded edge and here are my beads attached to that fabric. Now let's look at the presser foot just for a moment so we can identify some of the parts. The channel that's in front, which would be closest to you, is where the beads are going to lay or going to rest. On the underside back towards the needle, there's also a channel, but this one in a sense covers the beads. So the beads will run underneath that channel and in that channel or on top of that channel. You'll also see that you have a guide here, and what this guide is it's a roadblock per se, or a rail for your fabric edge, and it is adjustable. This screw indicates that I have the ability to move this away from or closer to the needle. Now I have my machine set up for a 3-thread wide stitch, and following the instructions that are in the instruction manual, I made some changes to my left needle tension. I made changes to my upper looper tension and my lower looper tension. Now my stitch length I did put at about 3.5, and my differential feed is on the end setting. They did ask me to disengage the cutting blade, which I did, and then also to take out the stitch finger. So we're going to attach our presser foot, and then what we'll do is we'll load the beads in and place our fabric in position and attach our beads to our fabric. So let's attach the presser foot. Our presser foot's in place, and I actually attach my beads after my presser foot is on. I found that trying to attach the beads and then attach the beads and the presser foot can be a little cumbersome at times. Now my beads, what I'm going to do is, and the easiest way is to simply take them, and I've just opened up the front cover so you can see, start in that channel and slide them right to the back, and I'm going to grab onto that tail. I want a tail, and I usually have about a 2-inch tail, and now I'm going to close that front door, lower my presser foot, and I always take a couple of stitches by hand to secure the beads in place so that what happens is as I'm stitching, they're not falling out of place. So my beads are secure, and now I'm ready to position my fabric. And remember, you've got that ledge that the edge of your fabric is on, and I did fold this edge. I have a folded edge. I want that edge to have a clean finish because I'm not trimming and I'm not overcasting the edge. I'm attaching the beads to the fabric so it won't overcast that edge. And I'm just going to raise that presser foot so I can slide that fabric a little closer to the needle to start sewing. And now I'm going to start stitching, and I am going to take my time just to make sure that my fabric gets cut and then my beads are also cut. The one thing that I found when I was using this attachment with the stitch was that when I left the differential feed on a normal setting, my fabric tended to pucker a little bit. And it actually looks great on this fabric. So depending upon your fabric, you might have to adjust that differential feed to a lower setting so it holds back on the fabric and it doesn't, in a sense, gather as we're stitching. We're going to continue stitching all the way to the end. And you can see if you get close and look at your window that your needle is just grazing that fold right there. You don't want to bite too much into the fabric. You just want to catch that fold, and then it is stitching across, catching our beads. And they ride beautifully in that channel. Now I've come to the end. I don't want to stitch all the way to the end on these beads. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip my beads right at this point, remove my excess, and then ever so slightly I'm going to sew very, very slow. Once these beads leave that channel, you'll find that they might tend to, as you can see, flop around. So this is where I might just use the hand wheel to hand turn so that I can make sure that those beads clear and get underneath that back channel on my foot, and then you go ahead and use the presser foot, foot control for the operation of the machine. And look at that beautiful edge using those beads. Isn't that just stunning, both the front and the back? How beautiful is that? And it's all on the edge. My fabric is absolutely straight and wonderful. What a great application for the edge of maybe napkins, or it could be the edge of a bag or the edge of a garment. All this using the optional beading foot on the Baby Lock Vibrant. So our second technique is inserting beads in the center of a fabric. And to do that, we're going to use a flat lock stitch. So what I did was, following the instructions in the reference guide, I have adjusted my needle tension to 0. My upper looper is at about 2.5, 3, and then I'm at 6.5 on my lower looper tension. I'm still using the beading foot. I still have a 3-thread wide stitch, but I did add that small narrow stitch finger. That will help form the width of my stitch. Now we're going to load our beads in the same manner that we loaded them when we used the first technique of attaching the beads to the end. I'm simply sliding them in till I have the beads at the back, and I'm going to catch my beads or secure my beads with the stitch, taking a couple of stitches. Okay, my beads are secured. Now I'm going to place my fabric again along that edge and on top of that little band. Maybe lift the presser foot so that I can slide that fabric up. Lower my presser foot, and now I'm start stitching, and again I'm just going to catch that fabric edge. I'm going to sew a little slower just till I have everything caught. Again, you'll see that they're being applied to the edge. The difference is we're going to open our fabric flat so that when we're done, those beads will run down the center of our fabric versus running along the edge of our fabric. And this would be a creative technique that you could use for an embellishment on, say, a stocking for the holidays, or even down the middle of a tote, or any other type of item that you are using that you need a little extra pizzazz as far as decoration. I'm going to clip those extra beads, and just like in the first technique, we're going to go very slow until those beads leave that channel, and then this is where I turn everything by hand because they tend to move around a little bit. Once I get them through that back guide, I stitch off. When we look at this, this looks like just the standard edge finish that we used previously. But if I take my fabric and I open it up, you can see now my beads are down that center or along that center fold. And I think that that's just a fun technique or another technique for attaching those beads. It just gives you a little bit more definition and a few more options. And this is all done using that optional pearl or beading foot that's available for your Baby Lock Vibrant.